My son-in-law said I should retire for good and stop interfering. So I did, and took the health insurance I was paying for. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The first sign that something was wrong came during Sunday dinner. I was cutting Ethan's chicken into bite-sized pieces while mentioning his overdue vaccinations. "Pat, you may have run a hospital, but here we run our family." Scott's voice sliced through the dinner conversation, his tone sharp enough to make Emma look up from her plate. "We've got it covered." My hand froze mid-cut. I'd been an administrator at Chicago Memorial for 40 years before retirement, but apparently that expertise was worthless in my daughter's dining room. "Mom was just trying to help," Amanda said, but her voice lacked conviction. She glanced at Scott, seeking his approval rather than defending me. I swallowed hard. "Of course, just a reminder." I forced a smile and changed the subject. Later, while washing dishes, I overheard Scott's whispered words to Amanda in the living room. "Your mother needs to understand things aren't like in the Stone Age when she worked. Medicine has evolved." Amanda's response was barely audible. "She means well." Meaning well and overstepping are different things. I scrubbed harder at an already clean plate, the sting of tears threatening behind my eyes. At 67, I still maintained an active life yoga each morning, hospital volunteer work 3 afternoons weekly, and caring for my grandchildren the other days. I'd raised Amanda as a single mother after her father walked out, working double shifts to afford her dance lessons and college tuition. Now I subsidized their comfortable life in ways they didn't acknowledge. Each month, $1,450 left my account to cover their premium family health plan, a benefit extended through my hospital retirement package. It was my quiet way of ensuring my grandchildren had the best care possible. Back home in my modest apartment, I stared at the family photo on my nightstand, Emma's gap-toothed smile, Ethan's chubby cheeks, Amanda's tired eyes, Scott's practiced grin. My daughter had married an investment advisor with an impressive title but persistent money problems he never fully explained. I picked up the framed photo, tracing my finger over their faces. "I just want to keep you all safe," I whispered to the empty room. My phone pinged with a calendar reminder. "Emma, school pickup tomorrow, 2:30. Another ping followed. "Pay family health insurance." I set down the photo and opened my banking app, authorizing the payment that would ensure my family remained protected for another month. The confirmation appeared. Payment of $1,450 to Midwest Health Partners successfully processed. A single tear slid down my cheek. In the bathroom mirror, I noticed new lines around my eyes, deeper than yesterday. I straightened my shoulders. Tomorrow, I'd pick up Emma, make her favorite snack, help with homework, start dinner before Amanda came home. I'd continue being the supportive mother and grandmother they needed, even if they couldn't see me anymore. The erosion of respect happened so gradually I barely noticed it at first. Little comments here, dismissive gestures there, like water dripping on stone, wearing away my presence in their lives until I became a convenience rather than a person. "Pat, could you grab more paper towels from the basement?" Scott called from the kitchen, where he scrolled through his phone while I prepared Sunday dinner. Not Mom, or even Patricia, just Pat, as if I were a casual acquaintance rather than family. I climbed the stairs with the requested towels, pausing at the landing when I heard my name. "Pat's been talking about taking Italian cooking classes," Amanda said. Scott's laugh was sharp. "At her age? Why not retire completely and relax? She's always trying to prove something." I stood frozen, paper towels clutched to my chest. "She likes keeping busy," Amanda replied weakly. "There's busy and there's not knowing when to step back. She hovers over us like we can't manage without her constant advice." I descended the stairs slowly, my knees suddenly aching with every step. I placed the paper towels on the counter and excused myself to use the bathroom, where I splashed cold water on my burning cheeks. That evening, I mentioned Emma's interest in the piano after she'd been drawn to one at a friend's house. "You know, the community center offers beginner lessons for—" Scott cut me off without looking up from his tablet. "You raised your kid already." "Pat, let us raise ours." The words stung more than they should have. I dedicated my life to helping others, 40 years managing hospital departments, ensuring patients received proper care. Now my experience wasn't just dismissed, but treated as interference. My birthday the following week passed with only a hurried text from Amanda. "Happy birthday, Mom! Crazy day, talk soon, XO." No call, no visit. I bought myself a small cake from the bakery down the street and placed a single candle in the center. When I called that evening hoping to speak with my grandchildren, Scott answered. "They're already asleep," he said, his voice clipped. "Amanda forgot to mention we were turning in early tonight." "I understand," I replied, though I didn't. It was only 7:30. "Tell them Grandma called." "Will do." The line went dead before I could say goodbye. I stared at the tiny flame dancing on my cake. Beside it lay the credit card statement showing the health insurance payment I'd made 3 days earlier, found $450 that kept Scott, Amanda, and my grandchildren covered under the premium plan my hospital benefits allowed me to extend to them. I blew out the candle and made a wish I never thought I'd make, for the strength to stop being a doormat. Later that night, I scrolled through photos of my grandchildren on my phone. Emma had inherited my stubborn chin. Ethan had my eyes. I wondered if they would inherit my inability to stand up for myself, too. I fell asleep with tear-stained cheeks, the cake untouched. The mortality rates dropped 40% after we implemented the new protocol in pediatrics, I explained during dinner at our friend's home. The Wilsons had invited Amanda, Scott, and me for what was supposed to be a pleasant evening. "Pat, with all due respect," Scott interrupted, setting down his wine glass with a thud. "You had your time. Let's talk about something current." The table fell silent. Robert Wilson cleared his throat uncomfortably, while his wife Janet studied her plate. Amanda's face flushed crimson, but she said nothing. "Of course," I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Janet, how is your garden this year?" The conversation resumed, but something had irreversibly shifted. I felt it in my chest, a final thread snapping. The next day, Amanda visited alone, fidgeting with her coffee mug at my kitchen table. "Mom, I need to ask you something." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Could you maybe not give so much advice around Scott? He feels like you're judging our parenting." The request landed like a physical blow. "I'm only trying to help, Amanda." "I know. But," she sighed, "Scott says you make him feel inadequate, like we're doing everything wrong." I thought of the countless meals I'd prepared, the school pickups, the overnight stays when they needed a break. "I've never said anything like that. It's not what you say, it's how you say it." She repeated Scott's words mechanically. "He's sensitive about parenting stuff." I swallowed my hurt. "I'll be more mindful." That evening, Amanda called. Ethan had a fever of 102 degrees. "Have you tried alternating Tylenol with ibuprofen?" I suggested, recalling the protocol we'd used countless times at the hospital. "Scott doesn't think that's necessary. It's quite effective for managing high fevers. When I worked in pediatrics—" "Mom, please, Scott's getting upset." I heard his voice in the background before he grabbed the phone. "For God's sake, Pat, you should retire completely and stop interfering. We don't need your outdated medical advice." I heard Ethan crying in the background. My grandson was sick, and instead of accepting help, Scott was creating a power struggle. "Scott, we're handling it." The phone clattered as he tossed it down. Amanda came back on the line. "I should go, Mom." "Amanda, his fever. We've got it covered." Her voice was tight. "I'll call you tomorrow." After we hung up, I sat motionless in my darkened living room. My phone glowed with a calendar notification. Insurance payment due, 3 days. I opened my banking app and stared at the scheduled transaction. The monthly ritual that silently declared, "I still care. I still contribute. I still matter." "You should retire completely," Scott had said. Perhaps it was time to take his advice. I spent 3 days planning my withdrawal. This wasn't an emotional response, it was a strategic realignment of resources and boundaries. The administrator in me approached it methodically. First, I canceled my standing appointments to watch the children. When Amanda called, confused by my sudden unavailability, I explained calmly. "I've joined a book club that meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays now," I said. "But that's when you always watch the kids," she replied, panic edging her voice. "Yes, well, I'm taking Scott's advice to heart, retiring completely as he suggested." Silence hummed across the line. "Mom, he was just upset about Ethan's fever." Nevertheless, he made a valid point. I've been overextending myself. Next came the health insurance. I contacted my benefits administrator and explained the changes I wanted to make. The process was surprisingly simple, a few signatures, a couple of confirmation calls. "We'll need to send notifications to all affected parties," the representative explained. "I understand, Please use this mailing address for my daughter and her family. I provided their home address. And please email this address as well. I gave them Amanda's personal email. I also composed a letter explaining my decision. Dear Amanda, after careful consideration, I've modified our health insurance arrangement. The children remain covered with basic emergency benefits, but I've removed Scott from the plan entirely and reduced your coverage significantly. For years, I've contributed $1,250 monthly to maintain premium coverage for your family, a fact that's never been acknowledged. While I'm happy to help my grandchildren, I can no longer subsidize someone who consistently dismisses and belittles me. If you'd like to discuss this further, I'm available. Love, Mom. I sent it by certified mail requiring a signature. I also emailed her and left 2 detailed voicemails. I knew Scott worked from home 3 days a week and typically arrived home before Amanda on the other days, giving him ample opportunity to intercept mail. But certified mail required a signature. Surely that would reach her. 2 weeks passed with no response. I called Amanda, suggesting we meet for lunch. I have something important to discuss with you. I'd love to, Mom, but Scott scheduled a family meeting with the kids' teachers that day, she replied. I tried again, the following week. Coffee this Thursday. Scott's car is in the shop. I need to drive him to work. After 3 such attempts, the pattern became clear. Scott was deliberately keeping us apart. I considered driving to their house unannounced, but decided against confrontation. My withdrawal needed to be strategic, not emotional. Weeks passed. I filled my newly free time with activities I'd postponed for years. I took those Italian cooking classes. I volunteered extra hours at the hospital gift shop. I joined a senior yoga retreat weekend. When Amanda called asking if I could watch the children for an evening event, I declined politely. I have plans with my book club, I explained. Since when do you have book club on Fridays? Since I started prioritizing my own interests. The words felt foreign but satisfying. Mom, is everything okay? The kids miss you. I softened slightly. I miss them too, but I'm following Scott's advice about retirement. He didn't mean it that way. Amanda sounded exasperated. Regardless, it's given me perspective. I paused, waiting for her to mention the insurance. She didn't. How is Scott feeling? No more health issues? He's fine. Why? Just checking, I replied, now certain Scott had intercepted every communication about the insurance changes. I would get my answer soon enough. At 2:17 a.m., my phone's shrill ring jolted me awake. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. Mom! Her voice was tight with panic. Scott's in terrible pain. We're at Memorial Hospital. They think it's appendicitis. I dressed quickly, heart pounding. Despite everything, I couldn't ignore a family emergency. 30 minutes later, I hurried through the familiar hospital corridors where I'd spent most of my career. Amanda paced the waiting room, her face drawn. They've taken him into surgery. The pain came on suddenly, after dinner. I hugged her. Appendicitis moves quickly. He's in good hands. We waited in tense silence. Finally, a surgeon emerged. Mrs. Peterson? The appendectomy went well. We caught it before rupture. Your husband should recover fully. Relief washed over Amanda's face. Thank you, doctor. When can I see him? He's in recovery now. A nurse will come get you soon. While Amanda visited Scott, I stayed in the waiting room. Nearly 4 hours passed since the surgery. Amanda returned with a hospital administrator trailing behind her, clutching a tablet. Mrs. Morgan? The woman recognized me. Patricia Morgan? I didn't realize you were involved. Family emergency, I explained. Is there a problem? The administrator looked uncomfortable. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Amanda's face hardened. Whatever it is, you can say it in front of my mother. Very well. The woman adjusted her glasses. There seems to be an insurance issue. When we processed Mr. Peterson's admission, we discovered he's no longer covered under your family plan. And your coverage, Ms. Peterson, has been reduced to basic. Only your children retain partial coverage. Amanda's expression shifted from confusion to dawning comprehension. That's impossible. We have premium family coverage through my mother's retirement benefits. The plan was modified 3 months ago. The administrator turned her tablet so Amanda could see. Multiple notifications were sent to your home address and email. I never received any notifications, Amanda insisted. The administrator glanced at me questioningly. I sent certified letters and emails, I said quietly. I left voicemails too. Amanda stared at me, betrayal etched across her features. You did this? We'll need to discuss payment options, the administrator interjected gently. The surgical procedure alone is approximately $12,000 without coverage, not including the hospital stay and aftercare. Amanda sank into a chair, face pale. I don't understand. Why would you do this without telling me? I did tell you, I replied. Multiple times, through multiple channels. You never responded. In the recovery room down the hall, Scott was now alert though groggy, the effects of anesthesia having worn off in the hours since his surgery. Amanda's phone chimed with a text. She glanced down, then looked up with confused eyes. It's from Scott. He's asking why we're taking so long. She held up her phone, showing a coherent text message. He's been in recovery for about 4 hours now, the administrator noted. Some patients regain lucidity fairly quickly after appendectomy, especially with laparoscopic procedures. Yes, I said quietly. And Scott always recovers quickly when it's convenient. We found Scott propped up in recovery, scrolling through his phone. When he saw us with the administrator, his expression shifted from irritation to confusion. What's going on? He demanded. Amanda's voice trembled. There's a problem with our insurance. What problem? We have your mother's plan. The administrator explained the situation while Scott's face darkened. When she stepped away to retrieve paperwork, he turned on me. What did you do? His voice was low, dangerous. I retired, I replied simply, from financing people who don't respect me. Mom, Amanda interrupted. Why didn't you tell me directly? I tried. I sent certified letters, emails, voicemails. For 3 months, you never noticed the absence of communications about a service I've paid for since Emma was born. Amanda's eyes widened. I never received anything. Scott looked away too quickly. Scott? Amanda's voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Did you see any letters or emails about our insurance? How would I know? Probably got mixed with junk mail. And the certified letter that required a signature? Scott's jaw tightened. I sign for packages all the time when they come. I probably thought it was something for work. A nurse approached. Mr. Peterson needs rest. Perhaps this discussion can wait until discharge? Outside in the corridor, Amanda turned to me. How much was the insurance? $1,450 a month. For the past 7 years. She covered her mouth. I had no idea it was so much. Scott did. We discussed it when you were pregnant with Emma. Amanda leaned against the wall. He told me your hospital gave us coverage as part of your retirement package, that it didn't cost you anything. The pieces clicked into place. Scott hadn't just dismissed me. He deliberately misrepresented my contributions to hide how much I supported them financially. Let me handle the hospital bill, I offered. But Amanda, you need to ask yourself why Scott hid this from you. 3 days later, Scott came home to recover. I returned to my apartment and waited. The following week, Amanda appeared at my door, eyes red from crying. We need to talk, she said. We sat at my kitchen table, where I'd once helped her with homework, and later, wedding plans. Scott admitted he intercepted your letters and deleted your emails, she began. He said he was protecting me from your manipulations. And the voicemails? He checks my phone regularly, says it's because he worries about me. She stared at her hands. I didn't realize how controlling that was until now. I reached across the table. There's more to this story than insurance, isn't there? She nodded slowly. So much more. I pulled an envelope from my purse and slid it across the table. For the hospital bills, $5,000 to start. The rest is yours when you need it. Mom, I can't take... Yes, you can. Consider it an investment in whatever you decide to do next. Amanda clutched the envelope, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to do. You don't have to decide everything today, I said, but you do have to start asking the right questions. 1 week later, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I opened it to find my granddaughter Emma standing there with a woman I recognized as Deborah, her classmate's mother. Emma called me upset, Deborah explained awkwardly. She wanted to see you. I thanked her and called Amanda, who arrived 20 minutes later, flustered. Emma, why didn't you tell me you wanted to see Grandma? Emma's bottom lip trembled. You and Daddy are fighting all the time, and I miss her. After settling Emma with cookies and her favorite book in my spare bedroom, Amanda collapsed onto my sofa. Everything's falling apart, Mom. She pulled a stack of papers from her bag. I found these hidden in Scott's desk when I was looking for the insurance documents. I flipped through credit card statements, loan applications, and collection notices. The amounts were staggering, over $50,000 in gambling debts spread across multiple accounts. He's been betting online for years, Amanda explained, voice hollow. That's why he was always so defensive about money questions, why he pushed you away. You noticed things. The emergency fund I set up for the children? I asked. She looked away. He's been pressuring me to use it to cover some urgent debts. Says he'll replace it soon. I remembered establishing that account when Emma was born, $25,000 I'd saved from the bonus I received upon retirement. After 40 years of service, the hospital had given me a generous package, and I'd immediately set aside this portion specifically for my grandchildren's education. That money isn't for Scott's gambling debts, I said firmly. We need to protect it now. Amanda nodded. I've started documenting everything since I found these papers. The gambling, the hidden accounts, how he checks my phone and mail. She showed me photographs of bruises on her arms. This happened when I questioned a large withdrawal. Good. Keep recording everything, I told her, drawing on my years of hospital administration experience where documentation was crucial. Dates, times, exact words spoken, it will all matter later. That evening, Emma and Ethan stayed with me, while Amanda returned home to retrieve some essentials. When she returned, Ethan ran to her excitedly. Mommy, Grandma made spaghetti with meatballs. As the children ate, Amanda whispered, He was home when I went back, said awful things about you, called you a manipulative old woman trying to destroy our marriage. Let him think that, I replied. It works to our advantage if he underestimates me. Later, after the children were asleep, Amanda showed me text messages from Scott, alternating between apologies and threats. He says he'll change, that it's just stress from work. Do you believe him? She stared at the bruise darkening on her arm. No, not anymore. I pulled out a notebook. Then let's make a plan. I didn't manage a hospital department for 40 years without learning how to handle a crisis. That night, Amanda slept peacefully for the first time in months, while I made calls to old colleagues who owed me favors, including a hospital financial counselor and a lawyer I'd once helped through a difficult divorce. My retirement was taking an unexpected direction. Ms. Peterson, we've reviewed your situation and can offer a payment reduction of 40%, said Marjorie, my former colleague in hospital billing. The remaining balance can be paid in monthly installments. Amanda nearly collapsed with relief. $10,800 instead of $18,000. Patricia saved this hospital millions with her efficiency protocols, Marjorie explained. We remember our own. Outside the billing office, Amanda hugged me. How did you manage that? Hospitals regularly reduce bills for uninsured patients, I explained. Most people just don't know to ask. Weeks passed in a new routine. Amanda took a second job as an evening waitress to help with expenses. I watched the children while she worked, noting troubling behaviors that emerged during playtime. Daddy yelled at Mommy again, Ethan told me while building a block tower. He said she hid money. Emma, more perceptive at 7, shared more. Daddy checks Mommy's phone every night, and he always gets the mail first. With my banking connections, I helped Amanda transfer the children's emergency fund to a trust Scott couldn't access. We used part of the $5,000 I'd given her for the hospital's initial payment, creating a manageable payment plan for the remainder. Scott's calls and texts vacillated between desperate pleas and veiled threats. Tell your mother to stay out of our business, he wrote. This is between us. One evening, while the children played in my living room, Amanda received a notification from their home security system. The camera showed Scott removing boxes from their garage. Those contained family photo albums, Amanda whispered. Why would he take those? Leverage, I explained. He's looking for anything of sentimental value. Amanda's attorney advised documenting everything. Each intercepted letter, each controlling behavior, each financial deception strengthened her case. How does he manage to hide all this gambling from his colleagues? I asked, knowing that investment advisors were typically subject to strict financial oversight. He's created a complex system, Amanda explained, showing me notes she'd found. He uses shell companies with legitimate-sounding names for transfers. His professional credentials give him access to financial structures most people don't understand. He compartmentalizes completely at work. He's the meticulous advisor while secretly gambling away our savings. When Scott discovered the children's fund had been moved, he exploded, leaving threatening voicemails that his attorney would later regret. You think you can hide money from me? Your mother's poisoned you against me. I listened to the messages with Amanda, my hospital administrator's detachment kicking in. Forward these to your lawyer immediately. He's right about one thing, Amanda said quietly. You did open my eyes. No, I corrected her. You opened your own eyes. I just turned on the light. At the temporary custody hearing, Scott appeared in an expensive suit, presenting himself as the reasonable party. His attorney painted Amanda as emotionally unstable, influenced by her interfering mother. Then Amanda's lawyer presented the evidence: financial records showing gambling addiction, intercepted communications, controlling behaviors, and documented physical intimidation. The judge granted Amanda temporary full custody, with supervised visitation for Scott, pending therapy and financial management classes. Outside the courthouse, Scott approached us. "This isn't over." "You're right," I replied calmly. "It's just beginning." "Why did you never defend me?" I asked Amanda over tea in my kitchen. "All those times Scott belittled me? Why did you stay silent?" She stared into her cup. "It started with small comments I could brush off. Then they became more frequent, more cutting. When I tried defending you, he'd get angry, saying I had to choose between you and our family." Tears filled her eyes. His control increased so gradually I hardly noticed, first monitoring my calls, then my emails. When I'd get mail from you, he'd say he'd handle it. She looked up. "Now I know he was hiding everything. Why didn't you tell me things were so bad?" "Shame and fear, a little of both." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing fingerprint bruises. "This happened when I questioned a cash withdrawal. He said I was accusing him of stealing from our family." I took her hand. "You have a choice to make, and I'll support whatever you decide." That night, Amanda returned home to collect financial documents. She found Scott gambling online while Ethan played unsupervised nearby. She watched her husband, this stranger who'd systematically isolated her from family and friends, controlled their finances, and monitored her communications. 3 hours later, my doorbell rang. Amanda stood there with the children and several suitcases. "We're not going back," she said simply. The next morning, with the children at school, we met with her attorney. He advised Amanda to file for an emergency protective order based on financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and physical intimidation. "The gambling addiction works in our favor," he explained. Along with evidence, he deliberately intercepted communications about essential family matters like health insurance. Scott's reaction was swift and volatile. He called Amanda repeatedly, alternating between tearful apologies and accusations. "Your mother has always hated me. She's trying to destroy our family." When his calls went unanswered, he began texting my phone. "You think you're so clever, turning my wife against me. You'll regret this." I showed the messages to Amanda's attorney, who added them to the growing file. "He's digging his own grave," the lawyer observed. "Keep documenting everything." One evening, Scott showed up at my apartment complex, pounding on the security door until a neighbor threatened to call police. Amanda recorded his shouting from behind the locked door. "I know you're in there. You can't take my kids. This is all your mother's fault." When police arrived, Scott composed himself quickly, claiming he was just worried about his family. The officers, seeing the protective order, advised him to leave or face arrest. Later that night, Amanda received an email from Scott's work address, the only one not blocked. "I'm sorry. I need help. Please don't take my children away completely." For the first time, there was no blame, no accusations about me manipulating her, just raw acknowledgement. Amanda showed me the message, her expression troubled. "What if he's actually sorry?" "Actions, not words," I reminded her. "He's had years to get help for his gambling. He chose to hide it and blame others instead." She nodded slowly. "I know, but Ethan asked when Daddy's coming home." "What did you tell him?" "That Daddy's working on feeling better, and we're all safer here for now." I squeezed her hand. "That's exactly right." Amanda's attorney entered the conference room with a satisfied expression. "The financial disclosure is complete. Scott's gambling losses total $67,000, over 3 years more than we initially estimated." I glanced at Amanda, who sat straighter than I'd seen in years. 2 months of distance from Scott had transformed her. She'd taken a financial literacy course I'd suggested and enrolled in an accounting certificate program. "What's our next step?" she asked. "Scott's attorney is proposing mediation instead of a full divorce hearing. It would save time and money. And protect Scott's reputation," I added. The attorney nodded. "Exactly. His firm wouldn't look kindly on public divorce proceedings featuring gambling addiction and financial deception." Amanda considered this. "Would I still get full custody?" "With supervised visitation. contingent on his continued therapy and gambling recovery program. And you'd retain control of all family finances. She looked at me. What do you think, Mom? It's your decision, I replied. But negotiating from a position of strength is always wise. The mediation took place the following week. Scott arrived with his attorney, looking thinner and more subdued than I'd ever seen him. When he spotted me in the waiting area, he approached cautiously. Patricia. He used my full name for the first time in years. I didn't expect you here. I'm supporting my daughter, I replied evenly. He nodded, eyes downcast. I've been attending Gamblers Anonymous, twice weekly. I'm glad to hear it. He hesitated. I said terrible things about you. Made Amanda believe you were trying to control our lives when you were actually helping us. Before I could respond, his attorney called him away. The mediation lasted 4 hours. When Amanda emerged, her expression was calm but determined. It's done, she said. Primary custody is mine. Scott gets supervised visitation twice weekly. He keeps his retirement account. I keep the house. He'll pay child support based on his base salary, not bonuses. And the children's education fund? Untouchable. In a trust requiring both our signatures for withdrawal, with you as trustee. I squeezed her hand. You did well. That evening, we celebrated quietly with the children's favorite dinner. Afterward, Amanda showed me rental listings on her tablet. I'm thinking of moving closer to you, she said. There's a duplex available 3 blocks away. We could live in one unit, you in the other. Are you sure that's what you want? She nodded firmly. The kids need stability. I need affordable childcare while I finish my certification. And you? She smiled. You should be part of our daily lives. Not just when it's convenient. 2 weeks later, we toured the duplex together. It needed updates but had good bones, separate entrances, a shared backyard, reasonable rent. It's perfect, Amanda declared. As we signed the lease together, I felt a surge of emotion. Not triumph over Scott, but pride in Amanda's resilience. Later, at home, I found Emma coloring at my kitchen table. Are you sad about Daddy? I asked gently. She considered this with surprising maturity. Sometimes, but Mommy doesn't cry in the bathroom anymore. And you smile more. Out of the mouths of babes, I thought. Sometimes the most accurate assessments come from those we try hardest to protect. 6 months after Scott's appendicitis, we faced him in court again. He'd violated the custody agreement by taking the children to his parents' home 2 hours away without permission. It was a misunderstanding, his attorney argued. Mr. Peterson believed he had implied consent. The judge wasn't convinced. The agreement explicitly prohibits removing the children from the county without written authorization. Scott's visitation was temporarily suspended. Outside the courtroom, he approached us, ignoring his attorney's warning to maintain distance. Amanda, please, he pleaded. They're my children, too. You should have thought of that before breaking our agreement, she replied, her voice steady. This is your mother's influence, he hissed, mask slipping. She's always wanted to push me out. I remained silent, letting him dig his hole deeper. Mr. Peterson, the judge's clerk appeared. The judge requests you return immediately. When he was gone, Amanda exhaled shakily. He still can't take responsibility. Some people never do, I replied. A month later, Scott requested another meeting. This time he came alone to a coffee shop, where Amanda had arranged for a counselor to be present as a neutral third party. I've completed 30 sessions of therapy, he began. My therapist says I need to make amends for my behavior. Amanda nodded, but remained silent. I was wrong to hide our financial problems, wrong to blame your mother for exposing what I did. He glanced at me. And wrong to intercept communications about our health insurance, the counselor prompted him. What about the controlling behaviors? Scott shifted uncomfortably. I've been working on that. My therapist says I have trust issues stemming from childhood abandonment. Understanding reasons doesn't excuse actions, Amanda said firmly. I know. He stared at his hands. I'm asking for another chance. Not as your husband, I know that's over, but as a father with unsupervised visitation. Amanda considered this. Show me 6 more months of therapy, consistent attendance at Gamblers Anonymous, and financial transparency. Then we'll revisit. Scott looked like he wanted to argue, but nodded instead. I can do that. As we left, he called after me. Patricia. I turned, surprised. Thank you for the hospital bill reduction. You didn't have to do that. No, I agreed. I didn't. Later that evening, Amanda and I sat in our shared backyard, watching the children play. We'd been in the duplex for 3 months now, establishing new routines and healing old wounds. "Do you think he's really changing?" she asked. "People can change when properly motivated," I replied. "But real transformation takes time and consistent effort." She nodded thoughtfully. "I'm still angry at him, but I don't want the kids growing up without their father." "There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation," I said. "You can forgive without returning to an unhealthy situation." "When did you get so wise?" she teased. I smiled. "Around the time I decided to retire from being taken for granted. 18 months after Scott's appendicitis, our lives have found a new rhythm." Amanda completed her accounting certification and secured a position at a respected firm. I balance grandparent duties with my renewed social life, including the Italian cooking class, where I've become one of the instructor's favorite students. Our duplex has become a true home. We maintain separate households, but share meals several times weekly. The children move freely between our units, enjoying both independence and closeness. The hospital debt has been fully paid through Amanda's diligent planning and temporary second job. The children's education fund remains intact and growing. Scott has made gradual progress. After several relapses with gambling, he committed fully to recovery. His supervised visitations became consistent, and eventually, the court approved unsupervised weekend visits. He's not the same man who once dismissed me so casually, though the journey has been uneven. Today is Emma's 9th birthday. We're hosting a backyard barbecue with friends from school and neighbors from our complex. I'm arranging lemonade glasses when Scott arrives for his scheduled time with the children. He looks different, thinner, less imposing, more genuine. The arrogance that once radiated from him has been replaced by a cautious humility. "Pat," he says, approaching me carefully. "The decorations look nice." I notice he's back to calling me Pat, but his tone lacks the dismissive edge it once carried. "Thank you," I reply. "Emma helped design everything." He shifts awkwardly. "I never properly thanked you for the hospital bill. Amanda told me you negotiated it down considerably. I had connections from my career. Still," he pauses, "you could have left me drowning in debt after how I treated you." I set down the pitcher. "It was never about revenge, Scott. It was about respect. No one should remain where they are not valued." He nods slowly. "I'm still working on that, valuing people properly. The therapy." He looks away. "It's not easy facing who I was." Across the yard, Emma shows her friends the science project that won a school award. Ethan races around with the rescue dog we adopted last winter. Amanda chats with David, a kind accountant from her firm who's been joining our family dinners with increasing frequency. "They seem happy," Scott observes, a complicated mixture of emotions crossing his face. "They are," I confirm. "It took time, but they've found stability." He takes a deep breath. "I have a long way to go, but I'm trying to be someone they can be proud of again." For the first time, I see genuine remorse in his eyes rather than calculation. Progress, not perfection. Amanda approaches, touching my shoulder affectionately. "Everything okay over here?" "Just catching up," I reply. She hands Scott a plate of food. "Emma's waiting to show you her new bike." As he walks away, Amanda studies my expression. "Are you all right with him being here?" I smile, watching my family reconfigured but stronger. "I've never been better." "Some retirements are actually new beginnings." She hugs me tightly. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I seem to have given up on you." I return the embrace, finally at peace. I've retired from others' expectations and from seeking approval that would never come. Instead, I've invested in my own worth, the most liberating retirement of all. The afternoon sun warms my face as I survey what we've built from the ashes of what broke us. My retirement isn't what I expected, but it's exactly what I needed. And for the first time in years, I'm truly seen. Not as a convenience, not as an ATM, not as an outdated voice to be dismissed, but as a woman of value, whose contributions, both seen and unseen, have always mattered. That recognition, I've learned, is worth fighting for, even when it means retiring from the battles that no longer serve you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and don't miss the next video, with more stories that will touch your heart.